That's coming up. Former Prime Minister Datuk Seri Najib Razak will remain as Pekan MP for now. He had filed a petition seeking a royal pardon for his conviction in the SRC international case within 14 days after his sentencing. Dewan Rakyat Speaker Tan Sri Azhar Azizan Harun confirmed in a statement today that Najib had filed the pardon petition on September 2nd. Under the federal constitution, if a petition for a pardon is filed within 14 days of conviction and sentence, or after the disposal of any appeal or court proceeding in regards to the conviction and sentence, the disqualification takes effect only upon the petition being disposed of. Azhar said Najib will only lose his seat as MP if his petition for pardon is rejected. Najib was imprisoned 13 days ago after the federal court upheld his conviction and sentence of 12 years jail and a 210 million ringgit fine in the SRC international case. The Court of Appeal today rejected Datuk Sri Abdul Aziz Abdul Rahim's application to strike out his corruption and money laundering charges involving road projects in Perak and Kedah. A three-judge panel ruled that the Baling MP must stand trial over all three corruption charges he faced, but dropped 4 of the 9 money laundering charges against him.
The 4 charges dropped were due to ambiguity on the charges against the rejected former Tabung Haji chairman, which did not state the exact location he was alleged to have committed the offences, and discrepancies in the evidence against him. Aziz was charged in 2019 with accepting bribes amounting to 5.2 million ringgit in connection with road projects in Perak and Kedah. He also faces 10 counts of money laundering involving 13.9 million ringgit over funds from a company Menuju Asas Sendirian Berhad.
Islamic justice does not at all give any privilege or exception to anyone who commits wrongdoing, says the Yang di-Pertuan Agong. The king relayed this message while officiating the opening of the Pahang Sharia Court complex today.
Keadilan Islam tidak sama sekali memberi sebarang keistimewaan atau pengecualian pada sesiapa saja yang melakukan kesalahan, sama ada diri sendiri, teman rapat, kaum keluarga maupun ibu dan bapa. Ketegasan prinsip keadilan Islam turut tidak membenarkan sebarang ketidakadilan kepada sesiapa jua, termasuk pada golongan mereka yang tidak disenangi.
The king reminded Sharia judges to ensure cases are handled fairly and for judgments not to be delayed. He also requested for the judges to conduct a study on punishments in the form of community service for those who commit minor offences.
There have been growing calls within UMNO for Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob to hold the 15th general election soon. Political analyst Mujibu Abdul Muiz weighs in on the Prime Minister's dilemma of deciding between his party and political career.
We can simply see the development have put very, it is an enormous pressure, I think, for Ismail Sabri, not only to consider his position as a Prime Minister, as well as to consider the fate of UMNO, which is now it is a very disadvantageous position to the election, especially when the new development regarding to scandals, to mismanagement, and of course corruption cases involving several of the eminent UMNO members. So I think, but considering Ismail Sabri as a Prime Minister, he will go for the longest time. He hold the election as long as he can, because of time will give him chances to maybe rectify or let the court decided on the fate of the members of UMNO who have cases in court. UMNO cases, if it is settled by court, it will boost Ismail Sabri's reputation as a Prime Minister, which is very concerned and very steadfast in his decision of making corruption, fighting corruption, and of course upholding good and political integrity in his administration. But we need to understand that we are not dealing with political persona, rather than Malaysian election rather have to vote for a party rather than to vote for a person. So this will be a very tricky to Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri.
Malaysia will need an allocation of 392 billion ringgit as a long-term solution to overcome the country's flood problems for the next 78 years. This staggering figure was revealed by the Environment and Water Minister, Datuk Seri Tuan Ibrahim Tuan Man, in the Climate Change Symposium today.
He said 230.71 billion ringgit would be allocated for flood mitigation and urban drainage, while coastal infrastructure would take up 126.55 billion ringgit. Tuan Ibrahim said the government would also allocate 15 billion ringgit off budget in the next 8 years to deal with climate change crisis, especially flood problems. He also said the government's seriousness in dealing with climate change issues was demonstrated through large investments in the country's water sector. Additionally, his ministry has come up with the National Water Sector Transformation Agenda 2040, starting with the 12th Malaysia Plan up to the 15th Malaysia Plan.
The first phase of school lockers will be installed at the end of September. Senior Education Minister Dr. Razzie Jidin says the first batch will be for Year 1 and 2 pupils from schools with 2 sessions.
A total of 37.3 million ringgit has been allocated for the initiative, which involves providing lockers for 323,186 primary school students. The second phase is expected to begin next year, when it will be extended to Year 4, 5 and 6 pupils in double-session schools. Razzie earlier announced the locker system in March to address the issue of heavy school bags. He hoped the entire allocation for the initiative would be disbursed by October.
We will go for a quick break. Stay with us.
Swiss Collagen Plus mengandungi peptida collagen dan asid hyaluronik untuk memberikan collagen dan menyokong kesejahteraan yang menyeluruh. Swiss, kesejahteraan yang menyinar.
Sehat ialah satu cara hidup. Cara untuk minum dengan baik, makan dengan baik, dengan bahan-bahan segar dan pelbagai cara yang sehat untuk memasaknya. Bakar, kukus, masak, campur, jus. Khas untuk semua amatur dan bakar. Gaya hidup sehat yang memasak di hujung minggu, menyihatkan badan dan jiwa. Hidup sehat setiap hari bersama Panasonic.
Panasonic.
What's the latest scoop when it comes to companies, markets and strategies? For everything business and tech related, catch Notepad with me, Ibrahim Sani, weekdays 10:30 p.m. across all AWANI platforms.
Liz Truss has been named Britain's next Prime Minister, taking over from Boris Johnson. She defeated Rishi Sunak in the Conservative leadership contest, winning over 80,000 votes compared to Sunak's share of 60,000 votes. Truss will become Prime Minister on Tuesday after travelling to meet the Queen in Scotland. She will become the UK's third female Prime Minister, following Theresa May and Margaret Thatcher. The 47-year-old will have her work cut out as she inherits a flagging economy. The UK is gripped by its worst cost of living crisis in generations, with inflation hitting a 40-year high and energy prices shooting up on the back of Russia's war in Ukraine. According to surveys, millions in the UK say that with bills set to rise by 80% from October, they face a painful choice between eating and heating this winter. Truss assured that she will press ahead with promises of tax cuts and to deal with a growing energy crisis.
We need to show that we will deliver over the next 2 years. I will deliver a bold plan to cut taxes and grow our economy. I will deliver on the energy crisis, dealing with people's energy bills, but also dealing with the long-term issues we have on energy supply. And I will deliver on the National Health Service.
Canadian police have launched a manhunt for 2 men suspected of killing at least 10 people and wounded 15 others in a stabbing spree that shocked the nation. Authorities identified 13 crime scenes where either deceased or injured victims were found.
The 2 suspects, Damien Sanderson and Miles Sanderson, are on the run and believed to be armed and dangerous. While there is still no word on a motive for the crimes, Indigenous leaders indicated that the attacks may have been drug-related. The stabbings, which took place in multiple locations within the Saskatchewan province, are among the deadliest mass killings in recent years. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has described the incident as horrific and heartbreaking, saying those responsible must be brought to justice.
At least 13 people were killed after a 6.8 magnitude earthquake hit China's Sichuan province today. Several towns were reported to have sustained serious damage to housing due to mountain landslides, while phone lines were cut off in some areas. The quake hit shortly before 1 p.m. today, 43 kilometers southeast of the city of Kangding, at a depth of 10 kilometers. The tremor was felt in provincial capital Chengdu and hundreds of kilometers away in Xi'an and Changsha. The quake was Sichuan's biggest since April 2013, when a magnitude 7 quake hit Yan, killing more than 100 people and injuring thousands. Japan and South Korea are bracing for the impact of the fast-approaching typhoon Hinnamnor, the strongest global storm this year. China's meteorological authority has renewed a yellow alert for the typhoon as it leaves China's eastern sea areas and moves toward north.
Typhoon Hinnamnor was already pounding parts of the westernmost main island of Kyushu in Japan, with both rain and winds expected to worsen. About 70 flights were cancelled on Monday, while some companies suspended production at factories. The typhoon is expected to head to South Korea as the country's disaster agency upgrades its emergency response posture to the highest level for the first time in 5 years for typhoons. Typhoon Hinnamnor is said to be the strongest one in 2022, moving at a speed of 257 kilometers per hour and has a maximum wind speed of at least 49 meters per second.
Authorities in Pakistan are working to prevent the country's biggest lake from bursting its banks and affecting nearby towns. This as the country, already devastated by flooding, reports another 24 deaths from the disaster, bringing the death toll to above 1,300.
On Sunday, authorities breached Pakistan's largest freshwater lake, displacing up to 100,000 people from their homes. This was done in hopes of draining enough water to prevent the lake from bursting its banks and flooding more densely populated areas nearby. However, water levels in the Mancha Lake located in the southeastern Sindh province remain dangerously high. Monsoon rains and melting glaciers have resulted in devastating floods that have affected 33 million people in Pakistan. It follows record-breaking summer temperatures, with the government and United Nations both blaming climate change for extreme weather conditions.
The government has often highlighted the need for targeted subsidies, but what considerations go into an effective delivery mechanism? Tonight on Consider This, we ask our guests about the inefficiencies of targeted subsidies and how to bridge the gaps. That is all we have for you on AWANI tonight. I'm Cynthia Ng. Thank you for watching.